Hello, and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Toy Story 4, which we'll be talking about today. I'm your host, Bonilla, and today I'm joined by Sam Quattro.
Hello.
Beatriz, Mourad.
I'm trash.
And Sarah Potter.
Hello.
So we will be discussing the latest film by Pixar, Toy Story 4, out in theaters now. You can find more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com if you want to catch up with our previous discussions on other Pixar films and other animated films. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. And wherever you listen to us, we always appreciate any ratings and reviews you want to leave us. But yeah, and we'll be beginning with a non-spoiler discussion, and later we'll be moving on to more to deeper plot details. But we'll begin with just giving our general non-spoilery thoughts. So let's begin with Sam first. How do you feel after watching the fourth version of A Story About Toys?
I'm not sure why it exists. That sounds bad. I mean, obviously, money and whatever. I felt like the trilogy of Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 was a good ending, but, I guess we have to make more money. Honestly, I thought it was okay. There was nothing really here for me. It's just about Woody. He's the main toy again, and Forky's there. Isn't he funny? Tee hee hee. Yeah, I wasn't super duper into it, honestly. There was maybe one moment that got my emotions at the end, and we'll get to that. But other than that, it was just popcorn's good, isn't it?
I skipped on the popcorn this time because I thought it was going to be so enthralling I wouldn't need to chomp on food, but you needed to? All right.
I always need to. I love popcorn.
Okay. We'll get deeper into theater food discussion at the end if we run out of things to talk about. But Sarah, how did you feel about watching Toy Story 4?
I was surprised by how much I liked it. I was definitely one of the people that thought Toy Story 3 itself was kind of not the best. I thought Toy Story 2 was actually better than Toy Story 3, but I actually like Toy Story 4 better than Toy Story 3. I think this was a much better ending to the franchise. It's a much better because without getting spoilers, Toy Story 3 is like an ending to the story of the toy's time with Andy. And in Toy Story 4, it's an ending to Woody's story, which is, I think, a more compelling thing since Woody's an actual character, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so there's actually complex emotions going on with some of the characters and the interactions between them. And so it's much more interesting to watch for me.
All right. And I've definitely heard that take already, that this is, since it's more focused on Woody himself than as the group, so that helps to give it a different vibe. So I think that's something that we'll definitely dive deeper into about what this does for Woody's arc, so to speak, over the movies. But Beatrice, what are your general thoughts about this movie?
So I had no expectations coming into this. I just didn't care about Toy Story 4. I remember, I guess I was so detached from the franchise because so much time had passed. I'd seen all the movies, but I don't know. I just didn't care, and I didn't think we'd need it. But I like this movie more than Uncharted 4. And I'll give you context for that. Uncharted 4 is basically the same situation, which is, it's a video game. It was the fourth one in a series. We had a trilogy. It started, it ended, there was a finish, and then that was it. And then we got this other one, and it left me we didn't need it. So for Uncharted 4, I was like, Sam, I don't need this. What was the point of this? If anything, characters regressed. With Toy Story 4, even though I didn't need it, I very much enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, this still adds to the character. It explored certain characters. It gave us more depth to them. It gave us more of a closure for them. So, yeah. So I like Toy Story 4. Yes.
So Uncharted 4 is worse than Toy Story 4. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot earlier than I expected a video game reference to be made. Although to let our listeners in right before the podcast, Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure was also brought up. So this has already been a very video game heavy.
It's Tony Hawk, but with Disney.
John Disney skating it up.
Is that tagline on the back of the Xbox cover?
I don't think no, but it's literally the same engine as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
Oh, okay.
Like it's the same exact thing, except with Woody and Buzz and Simba.
Okay. And just quickly, my non-spoilery thoughts. I was going into this movie expecting pretty good stuff because I was like, well, there hasn't been a bad Toy Story yet. So, like, even if it feels superfluous, but, like, it's still going to be fun. And I think for the most part, it feels that. We're like, it's a fun time. It definitely... To me, at least, we'll get deeper into this. It kind of feels like two different movies are going on almost. Like there's definitely a feeling that like it doesn't all like connect as the same story, but like it's very Woody focused and like that part works. We'll talk about Forky. I enjoy him a lot for pieces of this movie. And I think like so there are other characters going on that also have that they add a little extra to what could be like a retread. So I definitely think that if you've enjoyed the other Toy Stories, I don't think that this will disappoint you. And like as Sarah mentioned, like I think that there's a good it'll obviously depend from person to person, but I definitely think that there is some argument for this being better than than at least one of the previous Toy Stories. So, like in that sense, I think it's worth a watch. So, but we'll get deeper into this as we begin to go into spoilers. So, if you haven't watched the movie and you want to go watch it without knowing too much of the plot details, then sign off now. For people who have watched the movie, we will now begin to get deeper into it. Where do we want to begin first?
It's the same exact movie as the rest of the Toy Stories.
Elaborate.
So, okay.
Does she need to?
All of the Toy Stories had the same basic plot. Toy gets lost, usually Woody, Buzz, whomever. Toys have to go rescue these. Yeah, it's different from the movie to movie, but that's basically the gist. Toys get separated from Andy or Bonnie, whomever, and they have to get back. And that is what all the Toy Stories are, and I'm sick of it.
Okay. Does anybody have a counter to that?
I do, because I think this is definitely one of those movies, one of those pieces of media where it's not about the journey, it's about the themes they're trying to tell on the journey, and the themes they're trying to get across in this movie. Because I've been trying to like think about it for a while, because I think there's some deep stuff here, like some complex emotions we're getting into, and I think in this movie they're trying to have this complex discussion of what it means to not have a purpose in life, and that's not really what we were talking about in the previous movies, because we always had this end goal of going back to the kid, and that was the point. And in this movie, the whole movie's about Woody realizing that no, I don't need to do this anymore. And I think that's and yes, it's the same story of the toys get away from the kid and then they try to get back, and that's the whole movie, and that's fine. Like, but the real purpose of it is that there's these themes going on that are with these characters that I care about, and they get across a message, and I think that makes this movie have a point.
It's sort of like how all the Ice Age movies are about walking.
I guess, but I mean, also Ice Age is like a comedy. I think that's a little different. I don't know if that's
Ice Age isn't trying to do as deep
I know.
thoughts.
I realize that it has a lot of deep thematic stuff and deep, perspectives, and I respect it for that. And I like the themes of Woody's learning how to let go and learning, maybe he should work towards his own happiness instead of, kicking a dead horse. And, I think that's a good theme, but I'm just like, why do we always have to be lost? Why do we always got to be like getting away from the kids?
I think in this movie's defense, I think this one did it the best way in that, like, we kept. It wasn't like. I think this was the best because the villain of the movie actually had a purpose. Like, when we got lost, there was, like, an antagonist that played into the things we were doing. Like, in the other movies, we just had the villains are the reason we're lost. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, evil sheriff captures Woody, or evil bear captures the toys. You know what I mean? Like, but in this movie, it's
more nuanced.
It's a little more nuanced, yeah, and
it's evil doll keeps Fork hostage to make Woody come back.
Well, but I mean, no, but she's not evil, and that's the point. Like, that's the point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is because the other two characters, they don't really end in a happy way. Like, but she does.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's just frustrating to me that they didn't do the sort of deep character backstory too much in the previous installments, in terms of they sort of maybe gave like Lotso Hugging Bear a backstory, but that didn't like keep him from being a loon. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also he's like a one movie character. Like, it's very different. Like, it's crazy that we didn't really get this deep stuff for Woody until now, while also at the same time making Buzz less of a character. It's
oh my god, we'll get into it, but that was so annoying.
Yeah.
So you are all saying that Woody in the previous films was wooden.
Beatriz, are you even here to talk about the movie?
Okay, I will say
to talk about it both times.
Hey, ease down, Sarah. That was a good one. Okay, I support you, Beatriz.
Also, I also, in kind of weird defense of the movie and just the franchise, going off of like the story is the same. It's always about a toy being lost. Other than a child playing with a toy, there's not much in a toy's life other than getting lost. It's either you play with the toy or you lose the toy. That's really it for toys.
They could get donated to Goodwill and have to like...
but like that's still like losing the toy in some way. And I'm assuming the toy wouldn't want to, like, if like it would be separation against the toy's will. Because the toy wouldn't want to leave the, like say for instance with Bo, they gave her away, passing her on, and she wasn't, clearly she didn't like it. So, I mean, you know, I don't know, just think like there's only so much, I mean, they can't really go into, yes, but like, why are we here? Why are we alive?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was going to say.
You know,
like, if you go into other things, you start having to go into the question of, why are these toys alive? And two, are these toys immortal? Which is a scary question that I don't think any of us want answered.
And on top of that, it's also like, I mean, like, could they have just introduced could they have introduced like maybe like another Woody? And it's like, oh wait, but what's the difference? Are we the same Woody? Because here's a question, like,
they did that in Toy Story 2 though with Buzz.
Well, Buzz, that's true. But it's like a question of like, well, how do you know that like Bo was like actual, like the Bo that they left her? It's just like, you know what I mean? She could have just been any other Bo. I don't know. Like, the thing is, like, there are, in terms of, to the film's defense, there are limits to the very world they created with these toys coming to life. So I understand why, unless you want basically like a documentary series of just watching kids play with toys and like do something like that and kind of turn it a little bit into kind of like a Lego movie-esque type of film, this is the alternative, I guess. It's just keep losing the toys and they go on an adventure because they can't go on an adventure with their owner because the owner dictates what they do.
Yeah. Lego Movie versus Toy Story. That's the comparison though.
Yeah, no, but it is, I think there's like, because it's the difference of like, oh, we're just going to dive into the kid's imagination or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is keeping up the illusion of the humans will never know what we're doing, but we're actually doing these things, and Lego Movie is like total fantasy. So,
yeah.
And I'll say as well that like I recognize Sam's point that like all these movies are using the same framework, but at the same time, I think I respect the franchise for like being able to do different enough things within the basic structure that it. At least to me, it doesn't feel like it's necessarily going down the same steps every movie. Like it definitely, I think they do enough to make them feel unique, even though even though like when you boil it down to a one sentence description, they would sound very similar. But I think once you get into details, like the experiences that feel different enough for me to appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, they're all tonally different for the most part, which, I like. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I also appreciate that this movie takes place kind of exclusively in just a couple locations, even if it is they're lost and trying to get back. It reminds me of the first movie in that way. Like, we're staying in one little town on a road trip, and that's it. We have the carnival and we have the antique shop and like a little bit of like this playground, but that's really the entire movie is there in this one little area.
Yeah, but I mean, sorry.
No, you go ahead. I was about to say something really stupid.
But I will say also, like, you say it's a little area, but for toys, it's a huge area.
Yeah. But I mean,
so it's an entire world in and of itself. So it's like, yeah, they're different scenes, but like even if it's just the store, you have different sequences within different parts of the store. Or like in the carnival, you have different parts of the carnival that they're hanging around in. So even though like, yeah, it's like it's a few places. It's like, yeah, but we see so much of those places. It's practically a different world each time.
Yeah, but I think as a viewer, and because they're people making it for humans, not toys watching this movie, like they use those as shortcuts. Like we, as a viewer, can be like, oh, they're in the antique store. And it's like easier for us to process that and just be like, okay, we're staying in one place, we're in this place, and we're using this one place in cool ways. It definitely, and they use them, like they do use it in a lot of cool ways. Because I mean, they have that chandelier scene in the antique shop, but they also have that weird, like kind of bar scene as well. And I think that's really cool that we can use just one location and it feels cohesive. It feels like one place that human could exist in at normal size, but it also has all these other things happening there.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a little bit about the themes of this movie, and one of them is focused around Woody, as we also talked about. Like he's kind of the main focus of this movie, and at least to me, one of the thing, like the thing that stands out. I mean, I think Sarah already mentioned this, but this is like Woody trying to live with his purpose in life that he's been working towards all his life, no longer being, usable, and like having to figure out like, what do I do with my life now situation. And like that's just a very like deep thing to go with, and it's juxtaposed alongside the introduction of Forky, who is
I can't believe we lasted this long without talking about Forky.
Forky.
Forky is a spork that with felt arms and googly eyes that Bonnie just creates in the kindergarten, and its immediate reaction is to be, I'm trash because I was made from trash, and it just feels the need to go throw itself in the garbage or commit toy suicide by jumping out the window. But and then like that propels the story of Woody having to hunt him down, like tell him like what it's like to be a toy, and then in the process Woody's like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? And then as the movie goes on, it works towards that. And so I would say that like that part like kind of hit me in a way, because also it's kind of like what the kids in the world of the toys are like their god, so to speak, and so it also feels kind of religious in that way in terms of like what he realized, like wait a minute, why am I still serving this human who threw me away and like doesn't care, like it has moved on with his life, why am I still feel devoted to him? And it's like, wait a minute, I can live my own life without
why have you forsaken me, Andy?
That's interesting. That's really interesting how you jump to God, where I was like, oh, it's like the parent and the child has left the nest. And it's like, you jump to God. And I'm like, no, it's the parent-child. The child went to college, or the child doesn't need them anymore. So now they're allowed to like retire and go on vacation.
And I'm really glad we're having this conversation, because I'm still kind of sitting on it. Like I can see both those analogies you, Beatriz and Alex, you made, like those comparisons to what it's actually saying. Because I mean, like, what it's saying base level is like what Woody is feeling as a toy. But I mean, like, the real message is how that applies to people, like how we can take that message and see what they're actually saying with it. And I'm still not 100% sure what they were going for. Like, I can see that they could be going for that. He's a parent and his kid went off to college and he can do whatever he wants now. And I can see the God analogy. I didn't think the God thing when I was in the movie theater, but that's really interesting. And I can see where you landed there. But like, it just doesn't feel like it sticks right in my brain. And it might be purposefully loose like that, where it just doesn't sit in a specific analogy perfectly so that it can be a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But I feel like there should be I feel like there's one that should fit better than any of the ones I've heard so far, and I can't find one in my head.
Well,
right
Emotional support, something.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the overarching thing is purpose, right? And like purpose can be different for people in so many different ways. Like it can apply in like so many different fields of your life. And like Woody's purpose all his life has been to be there for his kid, and he instills that in Forky as well throughout. It's like you need to be there for Bonnie because you make her happy. And that's been his purpose all his life, to make other people happy. But then it's like, but now that I've done that, can I allow myself to make myself happy? And like, that's also a thing in purpose, but like, that's like a different thing from like parent-child or from religion. It's like, purpose is just such like a wide umbrella of things that it can be, that like I definitely think, Sarah, you're right, and like that this can apply to like a lot of different things and probably won't adhere 100% to like one interpretation. But like I think that this is malleable enough that you can see a lot of different things in like how Woody's handling this existential crisis.
Yeah, and that's kind of like why I don't. Like when I was watching things, I was finding comparisons more to like, because it seems like Woody's more like, this is his job almost, like he likes to do it, but it's his job, where like he did something, he succeeded, and it's like he's reached the end, he's reached a goal, and then he's at the end of that goal, and he's like, now what? Like I did this great thing, and now what do I do?
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So you're saying that Woody is a baby boomer and is struggling to leave the workforce.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. It might be retirement. I guess retirement might be one of the things, but I'm more thinking like you have this thing you need to do, like this thing you really need to get done, but you enjoy doing it and you want to get it done. And it's a goal you've had for a long time, and you finish it. And there's that time between when you finish it and you pick up your next goal in life, whatever it is, where there's this blank spot where you're like, I'm kind of rudderless right now. And it's not because I'm not a person. It's because without wants and stuff, it's because I'm kind of in this transitionary phase where I'm going to a new phase of my life. And that's kind of the way I read it, where like just life just has these kind of divots in it where like you did something and you move on to the next thing. But it's not like this perfect transition to the next thing. There's always like a little layover between them or crossover. And I think that's more that's what I was seeing the movie about, where like life isn't just these clean phases. It's just you have to figure out how to get yourself to that next phase.
So Bonnie's a layover.
Yes.
Gotcha.
For Woody, at least.
For Woody.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how they do that first scene with them in Bonnie's room, where it's like Woody is left behind in the closet, and Woody still feels like the need to like be there for Bonnie, even though like it's already pretty obvious that like his purpose is no longer the same in this environment, and he's clinging on to it, and so he has to. Or the movie realized that like he's just not the person for this particular moment in his life, in her life. So transition is definitely a word that could also fit with this whole thing of like Woody moving on to just another period of his life and like figuring out what to do with that next period. Also, I think another thing that kind of murks this up a little bit is that the conclusion of this is that Woody ends up deciding to leave his group of friends and go with Bo Peep. And Bo Peep is a character in this movie that I would like to get your opinions on, because on the one hand, she is, portrayed as this like a person who is like been able to support themselves, has learned to live outside the structure of toy kid relationships so it can handle her own. But also the movie portrays her as the love interest for Woody after that being touched upon in the first two movies, but like not that deep. But like this one, like it really leans into the romance tropes of it, and the ending is Woody deciding to stay with Bo Peep and live their lives together as opposed to sticking with his friends. So we have like, and those aren't necessarily two opposites, but like those are the two like big pieces of Bo Peep's story in here. So how do you guys feel about Bo Peep in her return in this movie, and how it fits with Woody's story here? Beatrice, let's go to you first. What are your Bo Peep thoughts here?
Oh man, I had a joke. All right, so
did you just come here with jokes?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel it.
No, okay. I have provided enough to the conversation that we've addressed that I'm valuable to this conversation.
Okay.
I was going to say, and this is 100% valid, Sarah, we've talked about this. She is thick with 2 C's.
Yes,
and
she
it's
is.
so great.
Oh.
Wow.
One important thing to note is that Beatriz and I saw this movie together, and this was the first thing we talked about when we left the theater.
Bo Peep is thick.
All right, it's wonderful. And I adore how she's animated because it really shows just how 3D animation has advanced. Just the way the light hits her and really capturing the porcelain-ness of her, and animation wise, she was really a standout of the story. I don't know. I thought she was great. I thought she. It's weird because in every other film, she wasn't a character. She was just, she was, like Mr. Potato Head had more personality than she did. So it was kind of, or like what Rex had more personality than she did. The dog that has like the spring in the middle.
Slinky.
He had more personality. So it was so I really liked Bo in this movie. I think she's one of the strongest things about this movie, and that's one of the things that make this movie so great. It's that it's retroactively fixing a mistake and a weakness of the franchise, which was the female love interest, and actually making her interesting. And it's like it says a lot that, I don't know, for me it's like, okay, well, she had to leave in order to gain that. But I mean, we do see that in the opening sequence that she was always, what I like is that in that opening sequence that she always had that in her. Granted, this is retroactively, it's informing us that she was always very capable. Yeah. She was like very much like a leader in XYZ. But it's just, I think this, even though it's very much Woody's movie and it gives him depth and everything, and develops his character and makes him more of a character in a way that the previous films haven't done. It's done the character that benefited the most from this movie was Bo, like hands down.
Okay. Sam, do you have any Bo Peep thoughts coming out of this?
I agree with Beatrice that this movie was very much Bo's movie and like her character building movie, so to say. Bo, she's a strong, independent woman, TM. She don't need no man except for Woody, obviously. I ship them. I ship Woody and Bo. Why not?
Have you shipped them since Toy Story 1, or is it just
No.
this movie?
No, because, okay, so if you follow me on Twitter, I made this thread a couple months ago after seeing Toy Story 4 trailer where I wrote a love scene for Bo and Woody. It's not safe for work to share, but basically they have a night together because they're toys, and I don't know how toys kiss, and it was very romantic, and I thought, this is going to happen in the movie, and it basically did.
But they didn't kiss.
They didn't kiss because
which I like.
I like to.
What would 2 toys kissing of their own accord look like?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we needed that.
I think I need that. I think we need to explore that in Toy Story 5.
Toy Story 5, the one where they all kiss.
That's my prediction wish list for Toy Story 5. We'll keep it running. I want toys to kiss of their own accord because I want to see how they're going to do it. And that's what I got so far.
All right.
Oh, man. I just had the greatest joke, but it's not safe for work. God damn it. It's not G-rated, and that's how we have to leave it. Yeah.
Save it for our Discord.
Bo is a good egg. She's
a good egg.
She's an interesting lady. She should really super glue her arm back together.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the tape just isn't doing it.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And Sarah, Bo Peep. Besides Bo Peep being thick, what else did you think about Bo Peep after watching the movie?
I really liked her character. I really liked. She really filled Buzz's role in this movie, and
She did.
The role that Buzz filled in the other movies. She was the strong second in the cast. She was the one who was more bold, I guess is the right word. Like, she was the one that was pushing Woody to do some crazy stuff during the action. Like, she pushed him to go on that back of the what was it, Duke Kaboom's motorcycle that one time. Like, she's the one who's doing these crazy things, and Buzz is just, or not Buzz, sorry, Woody was along for the ride, essentially. And I liked that she was the one feeling that. That felt good. And there was never a moment in the film, because this happens sometimes when we never had this moment where, like, you're a woman doing this. Like, no, like, it was just Bo. It was just Bo's character doing these things, and she was awesome, and I really liked it. And I don't know, I just liked all of her little sidekicks. I loved the Tamagotchi type friend, and I liked her sheep. And I don't know, it felt like Woody was a fish out of water in her world, and I really enjoyed seeing that we were entering a domain that she had not control of, but an understanding of that Woody didn't. And it always felt like Woody was a step behind her in what they should be doing, and I really enjoyed that.
All right. So generally positive thoughts on Bo Peep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There was maybe one scene that I was questioning of during the movie, but it's not even worth mentioning because I didn't like it, and then I saw the end. I thought they were going towards a different ending, and when they didn't, it was fine.
Well, can I mention, like, one thing that, like, bothered me a little bit is, like, when Woody and Bo are breaking out of the antique store, and Woody is like, we gotta go back in, and everybody's like, no, you shouldn't. And then he says I forget what the specific thing he says, but that gets Bo angry. I think something about, like, you wouldn't know responsibility or something. And then
loyalty.
Loyalty. Yeah, that's the word. And then, like, Bo walks off, but then, like, the switch in Bo's head happens. I felt pretty quickly, where it's just like the friend is like, "Hey, Woody's a jerk," right? It's like, wait, no, we gotta help him. I love that determination. It just, like, runs back. So, like, I felt that was a little too quick, and maybe, like, not in line with, like, her self-reliance that was displayed up to that point. But, like, I don't know. I think that's the only thing I have with it, that, like, it's done very quick, and it feels like for the purpose of just, like, driving us right back into Woody, Bo Peep love interest situation. But, like, I don't know.
And that was the scene I was talking about. That I did have an issue with it when I first watched it, but as I've sat with it more, I've actually been okay with it, because when I thought back on the scene, I remembered that she actually got mad at him first, and then he got mad at her after she raised her voice. And I think it was less of a, like, it was more of a concession that they had a fight and she wanted to fix things. And that's something that happens sometimes in relationships. You get upset with each other, because when Woody gets back, it's not like he is surprised that she's back. He understands why she left because of what he said. And I think that's why it's okay, because the fact of the matter is they had a fight. They both made mistakes, and they reconciled that, and they didn't vocally say it, but it's clear that they both recognize they made a mistake by the way they're acting when they meet up again, by the way they act as they're leaving each other. And I think that makes it work.
And I think they did, like, vocal, and not maybe vocally, but through their actions. Like, Woody does the one thing that the fight was about, where she goes, "You have to leave. You have to put the kid second. You have to put the toys first. Like you have to stop putting the kid as stop having this tunnel vision to make and put the kid's happiness as the most important thing." And what does he do at the end? He listens. He does. Yeah. He doesn't put the kid's happiness first. And he does grow. So even though, and I think that's what makes that fight, is what makes him turning back and meeting up with her and, like, hugging her and reuniting with her all that more powerful. And, maybe it's because, like, the Polly Pocket character, like, I don't know. For me, I thought that the Polly Pocket, I felt like it wasn't too fast, because it's one of those things where it's like, all right, we can have a fight. I can point out this person's flaws, but if any outside person starts pointing out their flaws, it's like, no, I'm going to defend them because they're my person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
So
yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
kind of like, it's kind of like, no, he isn't selfish, or he isn't whatever. You don't know him. And that's
Yeah.
what's like, and that understanding of like, I understand this person, like what Sarah was saying. It's like, I understand this person, and we had a fight, but I still like that. By her defending him, she thought, I care about this person. I need to go back. I need help. Even despite it all, I still want to help.
No, and I completely understand that. I think the reason I understand that is because I've been in that situation or a similar one where like I'd get in a fight with with Cade, and I'd talk to someone else just because I need someone to talk to, and Cade's not that person when we're upset with each other, and they'd say something, and I'd be like, no, they're right. We're having a fight, but like they're not wrong about what they're saying, because I know Cade. I know the emotions they have, and sometimes we get upset with each other, but it doesn't mean that I still don't love Cade, and I still don't have an understanding of why they're upset. Sometimes you just get upset, and that happens. And I think that's more what this was. It wasn't like this big moment. Like, it happened at a big moment in the plot, but it wasn't a big moment in their relationship. This fight wasn't like the crux that was going to break them. It never was. Like, Woody and Bo did not push each other to that limit in this movie.
Yeah.
Even, that was just the climax of the story. And that's a very different thing.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's good justification for that. Let's see here. I mean, I breezed by Forky in terms of like Woody's.
Yeah, we need to talk about him.
Well, in terms of Woody's arc, but like, what are the Forky thoughts on him? Sam, you seem eager. Let's go to you first.
So how did he not break any
Yeah.
I mean,
agree.
He's a plastic sport. Those are pretty easy to break. And how did he not lose like his Play-Doh lips or like a googly eye or his hands? Like, how is he not completely broken? I guess that would have been upsetting for the children to see. So that's one Forky take. I think he's all right. He's just kind of a sweet little baby boy who needs help figuring out the world, and honestly, he doesn't really serve too much of a purpose. I mean, he's the person, toy, whatever, who kickstarts Woody's arc in this and sort of gives him purpose for the plot. But towards the end of, like, the movie, like the middle to the end, when Forky gets kidnapped by Gabby, he just doesn't really mean anything anymore. He just sort of like, oh, this is the object that we have to get back to Bonnie because Bonnie is sad. And he's not a character at that point. He's just a thing.
Yeah.
Which the movie is trying to argue against because he's a toy, because he's alive, but I digress.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say he's not a thing. I mean, he is a thing, that he's become a thing and less of a character. I think it's just that the movie shifted the importance of his characters. So like his character now fulfilled his purpose as pushing the story forward and getting Woody where he needed to be to like meet up with Bo and all this stuff. And he's no longer important in that sense. So like it's kind of, but he's kind of has this kind of childlike mentality that's kind of superficial. So you don't really get these really deep thoughts because he's only like 2 days old. So I agree that he loses that kind of his best moments are in the beginning of the movie, but it's kind of like the story. It's one of those things where like the story, like the character that we were going to explore was always going to be Woody, and he was just one of the side characters, and he was sort of like a means to an end. And I guess I'm just a little bit disappointed concerning like the marketing. I was like, oh my god, this Fork, he talks and he's gonna have an existential crisis throughout the movie, and that wasn't really delivered on. And I was like, okay.
He was a much smaller character than the promotional stuff seemed to say, essentially.
Yeah.
He was like, if we look at his thing in the movie, like most of the time, like he's a quote unquote character, it's just as a gag. He's not actually like a character for most of the movie. His big realization happens before the main like plot starts when he gets lost in the antique store. Like his character arc is already over by the time we're doing Woody's character arc, really.
Mm.
Yeah, and that was my when I said at the beginning, like it kind of feels like two movies, because I think like the first like third of the movie is Woody and Forky, and like Forky realizing himself, and like that feels almost like its own movie, because when we shift to Woody and Bo Peep, then it's and like the end is to rescue Forky, but Forky is treated like a hostage there. So like, and we with the realization that comes at the end of like, oh, I actually mean something to Bonnie, but like it kind of ends there. So like, I feel that like the transition from Woody and Forky to Woody and Bo Peep is a little bumpy in that sense, but like I get the meaning of it, because like also, as Woody is talking to Forky is as we reveal like his beginning to struggle with who he is and what he is, and so that bleeds into his interactions with Bo Peep. So like in that sense it connects, but just like Forky kind of disappearing as a character is kind of like, oh, what happened half an hour ago? Or there's this character that was pretty funny that I liked, but what happened to him?
Yeah, and I think he kind of loses a lot of that charm by the time he makes that jump to being like understanding that he's a toy. I think his real charm is like not understanding what toys are and trying to learn that. And it is nice seeing that scene where Woody's explaining his story to Forky. Like it's cool. It's really kind of cathartic to see Forky learning that through Woody, and it feels like a real passing on of knowledge. But then Forky is just kind of like, "Hey, I'm here," for like the whole movie.
Yeah, but there we do deserve to give praise to that scene where like Woody is rescuing Forky from like throwing himself off the side of the road and is like walking them along. There's like a joke like, "Will you carry me?" Which is
that's a great
always a good thing. And it's just like dragging him, and so like they do good physical stuff with him, and then also like you have like Woody emptying his soul to Forky. And also, like, just Forky just being like, "I'm trash" over and over again. It's just very relatable in a very saddening way. But and like,
but I mean, like, even when he explains it, I don't think it's even that sad. I think it's just like, I don't think it's even that sad once he explains it. He's just has a weird connection because that's just how he was made.
Right. It's more like I don't see myself as this new identity you're placing upon me, and like that's like a whole thing that you could dive into. But eventually when he turns him around, like accidentally describing it as like, "Hey, this is like if somebody saw a warm piece of trash and enjoyed it," and it's like Forky understands that, and like that turns the light bulb on in his head. But like that whole scene is just like a lot of like, it's doing a lot of different things, and it's sprinkling in the humor and the feels, and so that's like a classic Pixar move there. So all of that is pretty good.
Yeah, I will say it also kind of adds to, if we're going to read this whole thing as like a parent letting go of a child, it adds to that kind of parent-child dynamic, because there you have, like, Forky was essentially like a very inquisitive young toddler child who just kept, like, you know, the whole like carry me scene, like I could easily see that as a parent being like, "I'm not going to carry you. I told you would get tired and you still did it anyway, and I refuse to carry you." And it's like, that's how it played out completely for me. So it's like, it just adds to that, echoes that kind of theme if we're going to read that theme.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like with the parent child, like Woody is literally like Forky's dad, because like he's the one who like throws up the spork and the trash up to the table for Bonnie to find it. So yeah, well, Woody is Forky's papa. So good.
Or is he his god?
Oh my god.
His demigod. So like Bonnie is like the main god. She's like Zeus,
Bonnie is God with a capital G, and like
Woody. I don't know what's like the Greek god of chaos or whatever, because that's what Woody would be, because he's just a mess. Woody is such a jerk, like all the movies, and like I don't like him.
Well, do you not like him in this movie? Like, I feel that his jerkiness is kind of toned down in here, but do you know?
I mean, it is, but it's still like, oh yeah, Woody, he still has to be the center of attention all the time, yada yada yada, and like, it's endearing because he's Tom Hanks. Like, that's the only endearing quality I genuinely feel towards Woody. But other than that, he's just really self-serving and narcissistic, and everything has to be about him.
But I mean, that's his life. Like, you get how he got there from. Like,
I know, but like, I don't like it.
But I don't like it either. But I understand how his character got there, which makes it interesting to watch him. Because
I wouldn't be friends with Woody as well.
No, I don't think I would be either. But I think the movie is aware of him being kind of toxic. The fact that he is just not. He's not a good person, but also he never was a person. And this movie was him becoming a person and stopping being this thing where his life is being the entire life of someone else. And I kind of like that. I kind of like this person realizing, hey, my existence before wasn't only just like kind of messed up. There's a better one I could be having. And I like
that all the Toy Stories are just about Woody learning to grow up.
Yeah.
And be a person instead of a toy, which is what he is.
Yeah. And growing up takes various different roads, right? Like, you can grow up in different ways, so I guess that checks out. Also, like, the idea of it being, like, self-centered is interesting, because, like, at the end of the day, like, this movie is about, like, him choosing his own happiness over like, providing for the happiness of others, which is also kind of interesting in that way. Like, like,
I think that's a better solution than like, oh yeah, I'm gonna. What's the plot of another Toy Story?
Just going back to the kid, like that's just the other plot. It's Toy Story. Like, there's no other like deeper meaning to any other movies. Like, there's some deeper meaning in what like the humans do. Like, in the end of Toy Story 3, Andy gives up the toys and goes to college, and that's sad. But there's no deeper meaning to what the actions that Woody or the other toys make. It's just them getting back to the kids. There's no deeper meaning there. And that's kind of what I think Toy Story 4 adds to this, where there's a choice at the end made by Woody that actually matters. He's making there's multiple choices made by characters here. Like, him getting rid of the voice box, that's a really, like, I think, thematic decision made by him. Like, it's a very interesting decision. And nothing like that's done in any other 3 movies.
Can I mention that the voice box thing kind of bothered me?
Like, it was creepy?
No, it was, like, I didn't feel like there were any stakes there.
Well,
like, okay, so it was set up early in the movie, like, Woody was like, oh yeah, Buzz, you should listen to your inner voice, and Buzz starts using his voice thing, like his buttons on his chest. And, he was freaked out to lose it, because, like, it's his voice box, but other than that, it didn't really seem integral to his being for... like maybe in the past movies, like, oh yeah, you just throw the string and you pull me. Like, sure, but it didn't really feel like that big of a deal that he lost it.
Well, no, but the thing is, the voice box is the metaphorical representation of him being someone's toy. It's him. Yeah, because it lets
a string attached to him that you can literally lock onto, and you can make him speak without him.
Ew.
Well, no, but the bigger thing is, it's the only way he as a toy has a way to communicate with a person.
Right.
I'm not saying that you guys are wrong. I just hate that.
No. But for me, it was definitely it was 2 things. It was what I just said. It was the metaphorical, him being like someone else's toy. Because it's been shown in the movies that when you pull the voice box cord for other characters, the toys can kind of manipulate which thing they say when the kid pulls it. And because, like, when Bonnie pulls the thing for him, the first thing he says to her is like, you want to be my best friend, essentially. And that's just like random chance. It could happen, but we know that these aren't just random beings. Like, they have control of their own bodies. But the other thing it really represents is his time as Andy's toy, because whenever he like the beginning of the movie is just really shows, and this whole movie shows that he's trapped in that time when he had a purpose. He's trapped in that time when he was a toy of Andy's, and he is growing past that. And unfortunately, it takes this really creepy surgery scene and him realizing that he's not needed to realize that he can give that up. He doesn't need that voice box anymore. And I don't know, I know if I like that message, because it's like, I don't know if you really need to give up part of yourself to move on. Like, that seems a little drastic, but metaphorically, I understand what they're going for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that like weaves into to the antagonist of this movie, who is Gabby, voiced by Christina
Gabby.
Hendricks. She is a doll who has a puppet henchman.
I hate them. Why are they
they're
here?
so great. You hate them, Sam? They're like the best thing ever. I love them.
No, they're not, because puppets that walk and are evil are one of my biggest fears.
But that's why they work so well. They're so creepy.
That doesn't stop me from being scared of them.
They're so good, though.
Look, Sam, at least they weren't clowns.
I'm not afraid of clowns.
Oh, you're not?
I'm afraid
Oh,
of puppets.
These puppets they were really creepy. I agree with Sam, but I think that I'm saying that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm on the side that, like, yes, they're creepy, but it works towards the aesthetic they're going for. And I think they know that they're creepy, and they're doing that on purpose.
I really love they went like triple agent on us, like, because you see the puppet the first time, it's creepy, and then like but you see it through like slats of like a chair, and you go around, and they go around, and the puppet smiles, and you're like, oh, they're just doing that thing where like there's a creepy toy, but it's actually a nice toy. But then they double back again to make it be creepy again, and I really like that. Like, it actually caught me, because I actually was surprised I wasn't surprised by the time they made the reveal, because it was clear that Gabby was a villain, but like. Mm-hmm. I was surprised he did that, like, heel turn twice. Like, we went from toy creepy to not creepy to creepy again suddenly. And they did really good job with the way the toys were moving. Like, its limbs were always, like, dragging behind it. I just really liked it.
Okay. And how do you guys feel about I don't know if it's real, because like Pixar in recent times has been leaning a lot on like the third act villain twist, but like I think it's usually been more of like the person who you think is good is actually bad, but like this time it's the person who you think is bad actually has, you know, intentions that are aligned with what the main character wanted in a previous life. So like it's a little bit more complicated in that sense. Well, like, how do you guys feel about the unfolding of Gabby from being portrayed as a villain to then like the movie wanting us to sympathize with her? Beatriz, how did you feel about how she was handled throughout the movie?
It's weird. It's weird because here's the thing. At the end, like, she was always going to get the box from Woody. Like, she was either going to take it from him or he was going to give it to her.
Mm-hmm.
She was never going to resist that. Like, I mean, like, she was never going to, like, resist that temptation of the box, like, ever. So it's like, on the one hand, like, she got lucky that eventually Woody started to sympathize with her, and the whole, like, okay, I get it, like, that one moment that you seek and you wanting a kid and all that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but she was still going to literally rip you apart to get what she wanted, like, for sure. Like, it had already kind of started. So it's a weird thing where it's like, yeah, she becomes sympathetic and she stops being a villain in the third act, but it's like, but she didn't really learn from the mistakes until after she took the box and then tells him, like, you can have your box back. It's like, yeah, but that's after you didn't get what you wanted, I guess, but it was never, like, I don't know. It's like, it's this weird thing where she I don't think she sees it as a mistake. But she never sees taking the box as a mistake. It's, oh, it didn't work. But I'm not sorry for doing it, because I'm like, it's the kid's fault for not liking me. And what I did to you was, had she liked me, it would have been worth it.
But I also kind of like that, because it feels more real. It feels like this is a real person. This doesn't feel... I kind of like this better than like a sudden heel turn of her understanding what she did wrong. Like, she feels like a person who did something pretty mean and jerky to somebody, and maybe more than that if we like make more allegories to these people being real people and not toys, because it's really messed up that she essentially just stole an organ from Woody. But even beyond that, like, it's just this, she made a mistake, or not a mistake, she did something, I like, we can say she did something evil, essentially. She stole something from Woody, whether she convinced him or not. She stole it from him. She found a way to convince him to do it. She learned his life story so that she could tell him a story that he would get emotional towards and then give her the thing that she wanted. And at the end of that, she didn't get what she wanted, but she still had the thing she stole. And she was going to give it back, like you said, because she didn't get what she wanted and it didn't matter anymore. But I like that we didn't just reverse that. We just went on with it, and Woody had already, because this was part of Woody's journey that Sheeta wasn't part of, Woody was fine. Woody had gotten past this. He had just given up the thing that he didn't need anymore. And yeah, she didn't learn her lesson, but they both had, it's just kind of like, it's almost kind of beautifully complex situation where it's not quite, like, I can't put words to all the things that are going on in it, but it's not clear cut. It's not black and white. There's a lot of complex emotions going on, and these people are not, at least one of them is not right all the time. But that doesn't mean that she didn't deserve happiness, and I liked that. And
it's interesting because if you flip the point of view, she easily could have been like they really followed through with everyone's the hero of their own story. So it's kind of like she was desperate enough to go after her goals and stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of like it is that question, like what someone may seem as manipulative, someone else can read as desperation.
Yeah,
and so it is complicated and it's not clear cut, and that's, in a way, it's refreshing.
Yes. And I think the perfect example of that is, like, even in that scene where she's getting picked up by the girl, I wanted her to get taken by the girl and have that happy life with that girl. Yeah. What was her name? Harmony?
Harmony, yeah.
Yeah, like, I wanted that for her. I really did. Because even at all that, even after everything she did, you understood why she did it. You understood she just wanted what Woody wanted, because we understood why she wanted things by the choices that our main character was making. And that's great storytelling, because she was making decisions based on similar emotions to the character we were more deep involved with. And that's great.
We're not so different after all.
Yeah, it is that, but they're also completely different. They have different motives, different things they're trying to do, but they have similar goals, and that's really cool. I really like them.
It's like, it's not even similar goals. It's like, it's that it's the similar purpose.
Yes.
Like that fulfillment is the same. So it was, even though they've had completely different experiences, as like Woody is like had the perfect kid that loved him forever. And then you have this toy who never had that, but they were able to bond because they both understand that need for that purpose and having it be fulfilled. And you have the one toy who had it fulfilled and the one who didn't. And it's that kind of empathy. And it's, in a way, it's kind of like, it's kind of like, you were privileged enough to have a voice box that worked, and I didn't have that. And now I'm trying to get it. And I want it to be my turn. Please give me that chance. I have this chance. Like, you've had this great life. Now let me have mine. So,
and I don't know. It's just, the more I see this movie, the more I just think that Gabby is like the reason I love this movie a lot more than Toy Story. Like, I just really like the way they played Woody and her off each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
She's definitely got a lot going on for sure.
Yeah.
Just want to quickly fact check. Harmony is the girl that she's trying to get to notice her and gets rejected by.
Yes.
The girl at the end who takes. Yeah. The girl at the end. I don't think we know her name, but like,
I don't think so.
That made me cry. That was like the one emotionally poignant scene of the movie, when the little girl was lost and Gabby went down to her and she was like, "Will you be my friend?" And
I just love how. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, when I go into the Toy Story, I expect to be emotionally compromised in some way with the deep meaning, etc. But I was really a little bit disappointed that this small little tidbit of a scene was the only thing that really touched my heart.
And I'm sorry that wasn't, like, because clearly, like, I think I related to something, and I wish you did too, but I get that, like, not all stories connect with everybody. Like, I really did connect to a lot of things that Woody was going through and things that Gabby was going through. I liked it. But I do agree that scene with the kid was really, really tough, because loved the little things going on it, because like Gabby is like nervous and she's walking really slowly, and her whole body language when she's moving is like really nervous, because we just had that scene where she was dropped by Harmony into the box. Like, I don't know, it was just it was this very tense scene where you wanted something good to happen to Gabby finally, and I don't know, it worked really well on me.
It's
I agree, it was
toy.
a great scene.
It's toy Tinder.
Yeah, it's toy Tinder.
It's like, is she gonna swipe left? Is she gonna swipe right? Right? Like, I don't know. It's like, but that's how rude like Harmony was. Like, everyone gasped in the theater, being like, "How dare she?" And then it's like, yeah, some people are like that superficial. And I kind of like, the minute that we heard that thing of like her mom being like, "Harmony, you have so many toys," I was like, this girl isn't good news. Like, I don't trust this girl. She has so many toys. Like, nope, I don't. Something bad's gonna happen. And
Also, to be fair, who wants a baby doll from like the 50s?
I mean,
In this day and age, year of our Lord 2019.
that could have been a really interesting like story. It's like, how do we go up against like iPads and video games?
That should be what Toy Story 5 is about.
It's about
I take it back. No, we're okay.
Toy Story 5. All the gang of toys at Bonnie's, they go on eBay and they find another Woody because they miss Woody too much. And they're like, well, we don't know where actual Woody is, so we're just going to buy Woody on eBay. And it's going to be like the first movie except with Woody, and there's going to be iPads and stuff, and they're going to be like, oh.
Will there be video game characters too? Like, will we have Pikachu plushes and stuff?
Oh my god, we should!
That sounds like a plot for like a horror version of Toy Story.
Yeah,
it's like a new Woody, but it turns out evil.
But I think that,
like,
I think that's kind of what we were touching on earlier. That like, there's other stories you could do with Toy Story, but they just end up being really creepy and really messed up, so they don't go that direction.
They should ask Nintendo for permission to display amiibos.
Yeah. I want amiibos in my Toy Story.
Yep.
But along the lines of like we've like touched upon like immortality and stuff. Like also like in their conversations, Woody reveals that he was made in the 50s, and that like Gabby has also been around for a long time. But like this obviously raises the question, like, why does he feel so devoted to Andy specifically? If you were around for all that time before then, like, what were you doing?
It's weird. And like in Toy Story 2, Andy's mom is like, no, this is a family toy. He's not for sale. What does that mean? Was he yours? Was he Andy's dad's? Whose was he? Why does Woody only act like Andy was his only owner? What's up with that? The Fairly Odd Parents don't act like Timmy was his only were their only kids. I don't understand.
But I mean, that's kind of like the point. Like, I think that's the kind of thing they just don't want to dig into because it gets really messed up. Like, these toys but these toys are gonna be immortal. They're gonna have like at some point they're just gonna not like. There's only so many kids in the world. Not every toy can be a favorite toy. There's a lot of toys just sitting in closets, sad, around the world.
When they do the gritty live action remake of the first Toy Story, they will get into this.
Yeah, the animated live action, the virtual the virtual animation, whatever John Favreau called it,
with real human children playing with green screen CGI toys.
Yeah, and they'll no. They'll literally turn Tom Hanks into a toy finally.
Oh my god.
Oh yes, and it'll just be like Tom Hanks in a cowboy costume. but then that means but we have to recast Tim Allen, okay? Like let's give Buzz to somebody else.
Do you think that's why Buzz was kind of not really in the movie and also really annoying and bad, just because Tim Allen's reputation precedes him?
I don't know. I think Beatriz and I both liked Buzz, honestly.
Really? Oh, okay. Well,
I don't want to say Beatriz. I'm sorry. I just remember how we walked out of the theater.
Beatriz, do you want to give your Buzz thoughts?
I mean, well, in terms of Buzz, I was like, I didn't know he was so kind of, literal. I didn't know that about him. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm also bleeding, and there was this one like cartoon show on Disney Channel where it was like that was actually about Buzz, but like in the story of Buzz Lightyear. So, I don't know. I was very surprised. I didn't mind it though, and I like how his gag was really funny. I don't know if his short time was because of Tim Allen. I think it's just because they had to make a choice. They're like, okay, do we if we want to tell this Woody story and we want to make Bo an actual character and we're introducing this kid named Forky and it's all about Woody saying, hey, I'm good. Like, I wanted more Jesse, but I was like, you know what? It's okay because it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really underutilized Joan Cusack in this.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
But
you don't do that.
Well, okay, at the very least, we can say that she kind of had her own movie. She had her own really depressing scene in Toy Story 2, at the very least.
She did have her own movie.
Yes,
That's
like, it's not like it's so insulting that she didn't get it. Like, at least she had her own movie, at the very least.
Yeah, she had her own, like, character arc, so it's fine.
Yeah. This isn't like we're glossing over Bo Peep in Toy Story 3. We thought we were done.
Yeah.
And I think one of you guys said that, like, earlier that, like, Bo Peep is kind of filling the role of Buzz in this movie, and so I think that's why, like, my reaction is just like Buzz kind of feels very superfluous in this story, and like it kind of feels like I get the gag of him being literal is fine, but like also if I thought that we had gotten a little bit farther in Buzz's character than
Me
this.
too.
So it almost felt like a regression in a way. So like, I think like just all those like thoughts coming into me make me feel very lukewarm on Buzz, especially considering how good other characters are in this movie. Like Buzz kind of just feels like tossed to the side a little bit.
It definitely feels like a Flanderization of his character. Like, we're really pushing him off. We're pushing him off to the side just so that we can focus on Woody. But I'm fine with that because Woody's story was so good. If Woody's story wasn't as good as it was, I don't think I'd be as high on Buzz's part in this movie. But I do enjoy. I think his part was funny. I think he played well on the other Keegan-Michael Key and the other guy. I forget his name.
Peele.
Sorry, Peele. Jordan Peele. Wow, I can't believe I forgot his name. Jordan Peele. Them together, like, they were really funny and they played off of Tim Allen really well. And I don't know. I think it all worked really well for me. And I think that it's annoying that a previous character that was great or was something else became just kind of like a gag character this movie. But in terms of this movie alone, I think it worked.
Yeah. I mean, can we talk about the plushies?
Sure. Let's get to. I guess besides Gabby Gabby, the big new characters that I guess as a result have to push out some of the older cast. We have Ducky and Bunny, the big plushies. Yes. We have Duke Kaboom, a Daredevil toy voiced by Keanu Reeves, in what I think is a voice that, like, without his face just doesn't sound like him. But that's just me.
I didn't even know that was Keanu Reeves. I did not know that.
Yeah, there you go. It's Keanu Reeves playing a Canadian. What a surprise! And we have the little toy person, Giggle McDimples, who's on Bo Peep's shoulder a lot. So we got a lot of like extra new characters to throw into the mix here. What do you guys feel? Like, did you have a favorite new addition? Beatriz, you wanted to talk about the plushies?
They're amazing. They're so great. They were so funny. Like the entire sequence of them explaining to Buzz like their plan to steal the keys, and that big long sequence, that long plan of like following the woman home, and then like it was like a mini horror movie, and I don't know, I was just like, maybe because of like the rise of Jordan Peele as like a very big like, horror director and creator, I thought maybe this is like a funny little nod of like, oh, this is funny, like it's kind of like horror-esque, but it was so amazing and hilarious, and they followed through because at the end during the credits they had the huge like Godzilla scene with them, which is so amazing, and they were really funny. They were really funny, and they were great. I think they're of the new characters. So this doesn't include Bo, doesn't include any of the new ones, including Forky. I think they're the most entertaining of them all. And this is going up against Keanu Reeves, which says a lot. But
I can confirm that Beatriz lost it at the horror movie thing. Beatriz completely lost it at that part in the theater.
It was amazing.
The audience that I was in also reacted the hardest to that scene, and I think it's just like the build, because like it begins with like showing them attacking the old lady in different fashions, and then it's like a build up to that very long sequence of like silence, and then them just rising. So it's the timing is just great on that entire sequence of them. So I think like that scene in particular, definitely like it is probably their peak. Of the
Yeah.
It almost feels like Jordan Peele wrote it.
It
almost
feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And not only that, but it's like that could have been like an animated short. It's an animated
Yeah.
short within the movie. That's why we didn't get an animated short, because it was right there for us.
Mm.
And it was kind of spread out over the movie with them telling stories. Like I
Yeah.
could have just watched a short of them trying to tell someone plans
Yeah.
for like 5 minutes straight. Like I would have watched that short.
Well, there's your new idea, Pixar, for filling in time. Put it before
Yeah.
Onward. We'll watch.
Just please do that instead of another Olaf thing. Please. Dear God.
Honestly, like I'd watch that over Onward. Oh, shots fired.
Beatriz is very upset with Onward.
Oh yeah, that trailer was
annoyed
before.
at Pixar.
Yeah. Sam, do you have any preferences among the new characters or any thoughts?
I liked Giggle McDimples a lot. I thought she was really cute and like adorable, and she was like, the best friend, the beau, like talking about the man stuff, and I like that a lot. I guess I enjoyed Duke Kaboom as well. I don't know, like the Canadianness of it was very played up. What was like his kid's French name?
Pierre, I think.
No, it was
Jacques.
It was something like.
Let me go through all the French names.
Oh, God.
No, wait, which person we talking about?
Jerome? No, that's not it.
No, the
Duke Kaboom's master. I mean,
Yeah.
owner.
I
Because he would like say it like so dramatically, like "I'm doing this for you." I don't remember your name. It's not on the Wikipedia summary.
Let me see.
It was an Indian name, wasn't it?
No, it was a French name.
Yeah, it was French.
Oh, it was an Indian kid, wasn't it? I'm mixing things up.
I don't.
No, it was a white
think
kid.
so. It was.
It was? Am I just?
It was
Was
a
I-
white kid with curly red hair.
Was it?
Yeah, he
Am I
looked
just
like
what
he
you
belonged in
say?
I think I
Ratatouille.
found it. I think.
What?
Hold on.
I wasn't having-
Rajan.
Rajan, there you go. Yeah.
Rajan.
Wow. I'm having like weird selective like amnesia. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah,
That
this
was
is for
excellent
you.
podcasting, by the way. I was just looking through for the names.
Looking for the name of
the
Rajan.
kid.
I hope everyone enjoyed that. Trying to remember the name of Rajan.
But yeah, I like for me personally, I just like that I recognize the toy that he was supposed to be. Because in the 70s, when Evel Knievel was like a big guy, like he was like a big stunt person, he was all over whatever, doing jumps, etc. They made a toy that was basically just Duke Kaboom, but in real life with Evel Knievel, and Duke Kaboom is supposed to be the Canadian version of that, and I thought that was funny. Other than that, it's alright. I don't know, like, personally, I would have preferred maybe a little bit to stay more with our core group of toys that we already know. But then again, if you have new blood, you have new things to bounce off of instead of the same old stuff you've been bouncing off of for the last 20 years. So I get why there's more toys introduced. And I think it's a net positive, but not particularly my preference. You understand?
Yeah. But I think that like also they added these new characters because Duke Kaboom and specifically Ducky and what's the other one's name? Ducky and what?
Bunny?
Bunny. Ducky and Bunny. Those characters, the new ones are their story is also about finding a purpose for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's why we focused on them. And I don't think they're as compelling, which is on purpose. Like they're just not the focus. They're not as compelling as Woody or Bo or Gabby, but they definitely have that same smaller arc of they want a place to be. They want a purpose and they don't have it. And they're trying to fill that in a different way than Woody is, in a different way than Gabby is, different way than Bo is. And I don't think they wanted to, because if we were going to do that with one of the characters we already knew, we would have to go as deep as we did with Woody to see that. And we just didn't have time to do that anymore.
Yeah. I will say also a plus for Duke Kaboom is that we get the line, "Yes, I Canada," and that's great. I think that's great. I think that should be a thing we say in the common lexicon of the English language. Like, can we do that?
Yes, we Canada.
Yes, we Canada. Like, yes,
we Canada.
There's also that amazing moment where he does the last jump and he's like, I can do it with my eyes closed. Everyone's like, wait, no. And he just goes. I don't know. That really got me. That was really good.
Yeah, also like him like going through again like the physical humor they throw in this too. Where he like goes through the hole, but like he hits his head and so he like falls off the bike. Like it's but like because before it was like slow motion, like he's gonna do it and like still messes up at the end. So like it's all great there.
Oh, and all the posing, and they even got now it's even funnier that it was Keanu Reeves. They even got him to do all the grunting for all the poses for like a minute straight. Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, but we're really in the Keanu sans here in terms of like his film career. So I guess this is
that's true. Like 2019 is a really big year for Keanu at this point.
I guess. Yeah.
Like he's just everywhere right now.
Yeah, that's like, even crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, like just like line up John Wick 3 and Toy Story 4. Then John Wick 3 might still be in theaters.
E3.
Yeah, it was.
He was a huge part of E3.
Yeah. So Keanu's had a pretty big last couple of months here, and I guess it continues. Although, like again, I'll stress he doesn't sound like Keanu in the movie, which is a little weird. Yeah. So, like if you don't know that it's Keanu, like as Sarah, like you'll easily miss it. I think.
I just didn't know.
Well, when you think of Keanu, I think you think like, oh yeah, surfer. Like, whoa, man.
That's so funny. I don't see that. I'm like, I don't know what Keanu's supposed to sound like. He sounded fine to me.
No. Because I always didn't sound like Keanu. That's all.
But that's what I mean. Like I don't know what sounding like Keanu sounds like. I don't know where the surfer idea of Keanu came from. Because
I recognize him as Keanu.
I get the Matrix.
The Matrix, Point Break, everything that he did in the 90s.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So let's hear anything else that we have not covered
the animation.
In depth. Well, okay. So like aesthetically, we've got a lot of different things going on. Like we have the playground. The very beginning is a flashback to like when they were with Andy, and it's like begins with like rain, and it definitely feels like okay, we're showing off that we can do. Like,
they're definitely showing.
Like,
also,
so yeah.
Who is this strange man coming to their house on a rainy night to pick up a lamp?
No, I think he was picking up toys from
like
that Andy's sister
daughter
was gonna pass on to his daughter.
Yeah, but like why do we have to set it up like this?
because
it's creepy.
It just happens
It's a horror
rain.
movie.
They're just showing off. They really are. There's that shot with like Woody's on the ground in the driveway when the car leaves in the headlights, and like the lighting and the rain and like the texture of him as the toy is incredible. And I'm just like wow,
look what we can do now.
Yeah, it's live action now, guys. We're in live action.
Okay, I will say one thing.
Band.
I will say one thing. Okay, so everyone was making this comparison between the dog in Toy Story to the cat in Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
But once I saw the cat's face in the movie, I was not as impressed. It was they did not get the eyes and the face right. So it's like, I kind of wish they hadn't shown that face because it didn't look like a cat anymore.
The impressive thing for me was just all the texture on the toys because there'd be lighting and scenes, and we talked about this, Beatriz. There are scenes with Bo, Peep, and Woody, and they're made of different materials, and the lighting is just completely different off of them. But it makes perfect sense because one's porcelain, one's like this wood material, and it's really cool. It's just so impressive the way they did it. And it's like for every toy has a different texture, and it's so impressive. Like that's the only word I can use. Like it's just so impressive the lighting in this movie.
No, I agree. I agree. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just saying because there was so much talk about this cat.
That was like one of the big animation things on Twitter for a little bit.
I'm just saying the cat covered up this like incredible part of the animation that people aren't like it just like overshadows a bigger thing. Yeah.
I was watching Monsters Inc. yesterday, and honestly, they came a long way with like the fur and the fuzz in the last 20 or so years.
Do you think Ducky and Bunny could have fit into Monsters Inc.?
They're not monsters, so no.
Well, they're furry.
They could have made like a conjoined toy, like monster thing like them.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not too big a fan of Monsters Inc. honestly.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Hot takes. You'll find my impressions on Twitter when I like finish the last 20 minutes of it.
Also, another animation thing that sticks out is that I think this was alluded to earlier, but the chandelier scene where like they're having their like little romantic thing and like they're looking out at the chandeliers like all the different lights going on, and like the light is shining on Woody's on Bo Peep's face as she's turning. So like that's all definitely like very pleasing to the eyes as well.
Yeah,
it's
very good.
Yeah, and like as we mentioned earlier, like with the settings, like we are like pretty constrained, but like at the same time, like we're using a whole like amusement park situation.
Yeah, I really liked the carnival setting, and I liked how it looked at night. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, so the night scenes were pretty cool with like all those ride lighting going on. Like when we go under the carousel / merry-go-round, that's all pretty good.
That's one of the funnier gags in the movie.
Here's a Sam question.
Yes.
So Bo Peep and her gang, they drive around on this skunk RC car. Where did they get the skunk skin? Did they kill a skunk and then skin it for its fur to put on this RC car?
I really hope Bo Peep killed a skunk.
Could Bo Peep kill a skunk?
I think maybe that's how she broke her arm.
Or maybe it was roadkill. The skunk.
I think that's the easy answer, Beatriz. That's like, come on.
Or like
I want her to have her like what's that thing called? Like the stick. The stick she
staff?
The staff, yeah, the staff. And she like I want to see that short of her fighting a skunk to the death and like she loses an arm and like I don't know, it's very
that should be a thing like that
yeah, I want that now.
Yeah. Also very quickly, there's like this the main thing that the other toys that are not Woody and the new people are made to do is like be in this van for most of the time and delay the parents from getting home.
Going to jail. That's going to jail.
Okay, you enjoyed that part. Okay,
so
Sam, your feelings.
I Beatriz laughed pretty hard in the theater at that.
I thought it was messed up. You know, like this poor guy. You know, he's
really bad.
Trying to, like, you know, have a road trip with his family and a tire breaks and like, okay, you fix the tire and then your van just starts getting all spooky and you have like a line of cop cars behind you. That's terrifying. Like, you can't stop the car. And then, like, thankfully he wasn't arrested or anything, but like, I didn't think that was funny.
I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was funny, but I also had this tinge of like, wow, I feel really bad for this guy. Also, I am stunned he was actually not brought to jail because that's not how it would work in real life.
Like
realistically, how are you gonna like explain that away? Like, you can't be like, my car malfunctioned and made me do this for all this time, right?
No, it would not happen like that. 100%. Like, everyone involved would be in a jail cell. Bonnie would be traumatized.
Yeah, Bonnie just seeing her dad go to jail. Yeah. So, I think I'm missing a big thing. I guess we can say that for final thoughts. But one thing I do want to touch upon is like how this fits into like where Pixar is currently, because this has been kind of a turbulent movie for Pixar in terms of production. This originally John Lasseter had some say in it, but because of his sexual harassment, he was pushed out. So that's one thing. Around the same time, Rashida Jones and a writing partner were involved as well, but they stepped away, describing creative differences. But also they mentioned that women and people of color did not have the amount of voice in Pixar that they felt comfortable with, and that they also included that in their explanation. So at the end of the day, this movie has 8 different writing credits. Also, it was reported during the Incredibles 2 production that dates were switched, so Incredibles 2 had a year less to work on it because to give Toy Story 4 extra time. So we have that going on. And now before we only knew of Toy Story 4, but recently we've gotten news that we have Onward coming out and we have Soul coming out as like the next 2 Pixar pictures. Those are 2 original movies, which is interesting because like Pixar, especially recently, has been leaning a lot on sequels such as Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4. So it's interesting that we've got 2 originals lined up and we don't have any sequels. What?
Is Onward the thing with the little blue boy who looks like the guy from Ratatouille?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Tom Holland.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that was just some like DreamWorks thing.
No, that's
that's a Pixar movie.
And Ratatouille, yeah.
Yep. So I just I want to get your guys' opinions on I guess like do you think like Pixar is still? I mean, obviously we're positive on this movie for the most part. But like, do you believe like Pixar is still like the top animation studio, or like do you see that this is like a place where it can improve on itself considering all the culture stuff that has happened, or is this like the beginning of the of like of a downturn, or back, or like it can't hold up its like the high reputation that animation people have given Pixar for so many years? Like, where does Toy Story 4 fit in like the Pixar story? Beatriz, do you want to like try giving thoughts there?
Well, I think Disney Animation has topped Pixar for a while now in terms of in terms of the stories that they've been putting out, because they've been putting out more original stories and they haven't been putting out as many sequels. You know, they did Wreck-It Ralph, they did Tangled, they did Frozen, then they did Zootopia, and it was back to back to back to back, and it's now they're starting to do more sequels, but I mean, I think that they did Moana, they did all this stuff, so I think Disney Animation has become the number one studio, I think, at the moment. Pixar, I think their problem is that they have relied so much on sequels. They have a couple movies. They had Inside Out, which is really good. They had Coco, which was really good. But in terms of where they fall, I mean, you know, we are getting these two original stories coming up. So it's just a matter of, will these two be Coco and Inside Out, or will they be The Good Dinosaur? We don't know. It's either going to be one, you know,
Right.
it's like, where are they going to fall? Because that's really the question. And you know, now that I think about it, in terms of diversity in Toy Story 4, like there wasn't that much diversity with the toys. Really, like the actual like human looking people of the toys were all white people. So that's worth noting. And you know, it's a interesting time. I think we're in a transition period with Pixar where we're starting to see, as with Lasseter, who thank God is gone, we're starting to see like, okay, now we're going to see a shift. It's like, all right, well, here's your time. This is the moment. You have now the one person, like there are a lot of people who've been with you for a long time, but the main like creative head is gone. Show us what you got. Show us if you're going to actually commit to, especially after being called out for it. Show us what you're going to do with this diversity, because one of the things with Onward, it's about these two bros. Like, I don't care. And, yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I can't tell you, oh, I have complete confidence or I have no confidence, because, Toy Story 4 was a good movie. And despite everything, I think, Incredibles 2, not so much a good movie. But you know, it's we'll see how it goes. I mean, we won't know until we get Onward and we get Soul, and we see how those movies play out.
All right. Thank you for that. Sarah, do you want to give any Pixar thoughts?
I agree generally with what Beatriz has said, that Disney is more consistent than Pixar right now. But I think the more impressive thing right now in animation is that I think like the picture of the year isn't going to be Pixar every time. It's not going to be Disney every time, because last year's was Spider-Verse, and it was from Sony, not like a studio I would have expected to come out of at all. And I think that's kind of like what we're moving towards, where like these animated films aren't going to be coming from one team anymore, and I like that. I like that we're getting these big animated movies that are like impressive and really complex, that are not coming from just one theater at a time. That said, I still want these Pixar stories. I like them, but it gets when you go into a Pixar movie, you're like, I know the strings they're going to pull. They're going to work on me, but it does get a little bit like, I know what you're doing here, Pixar. You've done this to me. Do something new. Do something different for me here. And it's just a fact of creativity. Like sometimes you just you fall back on the things you're used to, fall back on the things that you've done before. And like Beatriz was saying, last year's gone. So a lot of people have moved, or like a lot of things have changed. A lot of people are working there have changed, and it's going to be interesting to see if we actually get a push for something a little different now, and I'm interested to see that as well.
Okay. Sam, are you excited for Pixar going forward, or?
I'm pretty
not?
meh. I mean, honestly, I've never been too big of a Pixar fan to begin with. Like, their movies, oh yeah, they're classics. Blah, blah, blah. Like, sure, why not? Honestly, I think that, what Sarah was saying kind of rings true, that they kind of hit similar beats and like, oh yeah, you're always going to cry at the end of the second act or something.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. And it gets dull and tiring, and you kind of want more stories that are more diverse in what beats that they hit. Storytelling wise, I think Pixar does have a lot of variety. They have a story about a fish that gets lost, story about toys, story about monsters working at an energy plant. And, those are really different things from each other, but they do sort of always bank on the emotional aspect and the sentimentality aspect. And, sometimes you don't want that all the time. Not to say that that's bad, but I would like to see them sort of break out into more, I don't know what the word is, like, maybe do more comedy stuff, more romance stuff. I know that won't appeal strictly to the kiddies and, the theme park tickets that they're trying to push for Disney, but I don't know, like, it's a hard tightrope to walk when, your masters had dollar signs in their eyeballs and you're trying to make stories that will relate to the people.
Mm-hmm. And I think that speaks to the parts of this movie that we praised, which were primarily Gabby being like kind of a different type of antagonist compared to previous Toy Story movies. We've talked about like Woody's whole existential arc and like how that can be interpreted in different ways. It's like there are pieces of this movie that we praised that stray from the usual Pixar moves. And so like that definitely I agree with, like, if it continues to experiment with the framework that they've established, like that's a good direction to go in. Onward, I will admit as well that I'm not very excited for that, given the brief piece we've gotten. Soul could literally be anything because all we know is it's about souls.
I was reading like the summary that is on Wikipedia, or like the press release they did. It just seems like Inside Out, but like in the universe or something.
Yeah, like I think I made a joke. It's like, what if souls had souls? Like,
yeah,
I figured that's like gonna be the kind of the thing, but like really we have no clue what it's about. So, like, I'm excited for more for not having a sequel on the schedule currently, because I think that at the end that's probably the better decision for getting more creative with the types of stories you're telling. But at least with Onward, like, that still gives me pause as to like whether or not we're gonna actually make this more of a diverse type of story, or we're gonna like fall into the same tropes that we've covered in previous Pixar buddy comedies, which we've had many of in the past.
It's gonna be Monsters Inc., but with blue boys.
Yeah,
and also Chris Pratt is there,
and Tom Holland, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Could not care less about Tom Holland.
Wow.
I'm sure that he's a nice person, but I don't understand the hype.
Okay.
I also just hate Chris Pratt, so there you go.
Yeah.
I'm fine with Chris Pratt, but, different tastes.
I'm sorry to continue this conversation when we're trying to wrap up, but I also want to add in here that I think something that I forgot about, and something that does actually fill me with a little bit more interest in what Pixar is going to be doing in the future, is they did release those 3 shorts earlier this year that were all a little different. Pearl, Smash and Grab, and Kitbull. And Kitbull specifically is probably more like old Pixar stuff, but it hit me real hard, and it definitely felt like these 3 things.
Oh yeah, I sobbed.
Yeah, I think but I also think these 3 shorts kind of went a little less G-rated than other Pixar things have gone. Like they went into like animal abuse and workplace, like sexism in the workplace, and Smash and Grab was a little less deep than that, but I still think that they went. It showed, I think, that there's room here for Pixar to tell stories outside of this G rating that they're kind of married to right now. And I think that might be holding them back in some ways. Like, you can tell a story without, like, saying curse words and stuff like that, but I think that there's some things that they can't do without having a higher rating. Like, they need to, if they want to tell specific stories. And I kind of want them to go that direction at some point. Just go a little further. And because I really want to see that in, like, a big feature film, not just a short film.
Right.
Well, you know what? Something I wish. Oh well, no, I changed my mind. I was confusing. I was confusing Walt Disney Studios with Pixar at this moment because I was like, okay, well, if you're gonna get creative, like I'd love to see Pixar get, and same with Walt Disney, just seeing them get creative with animation styles, change it up a bit, maybe play Disney released Paperman like in 2012, and it was like it looked like 2D, but it also incorporated 3D elements. And I was like, they're like, oh, we're using this to experiment with future things that we're using for our movies, and it's like, where's the movie that looks like Paperman? Please,
I want that.
Where is it? So I think the Spider-Man winning kind of showed that there is a desire for non-Disney / non-3D animated films, and if Pixar wants to do something bold and creative, give me some of that. Change up the style.
And I think that's part of the reason why Kit Bull stands out of these 3 Sparks programs, because the other 2 are the normal, not normal, but they're the CG animation we know Pixar for. Like, the stories are, they didn't make me cry as much as Kit Bull, but I also don't think they're bad. I just think that Kit Bull stands out. Like, they have this more, they have this animation style that's just a little more, a little less concrete. Like, the cat is literally just this ball of fuzz on the screen, and it's very evocative, and you remember it. You remember the character you're seeing based on the way they're drawn, and it's different than what Pixar usually does, and I like that. And I agree with you. I want them to do something beyond this, like, because like Toy Story 4 is insanely impressive for the animation, but there's only so much you can do that. You can only impress me so much with that. You need to do something a little more different at some point.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you can impress me with like God rays and reflections and stuff.
Something to impress us, like Lion King, virtual reality.
Yep.
We have to save our takes for that. Oh my god.
Yeah, it'll come back.
We're there.
Also, feel free to check out our Lion King retrospective podcast if you want the previous take. Oh yeah, we were on that. Yeah. So we've got the state of Pixar down. So with that, let's just get to any final stray thoughts you've got on Toy Story 4 before we begin signing off. Sam, do you have anything else we haven't talked about?
I thought that I did, but I forgot it. I wanted to say things that I thought were interesting, fun facts, while I was browsing the Wikipedia page. So I posted this on our Skype thread that we have going. But apparently, all those closet toys were voiced by like Mel Brooks, Carol Burnett, Betty White, Carl Reiner, yeah. So that's fun. And then also, since Don Rickles died, they just spliced together voice clips for Mr. Potato Head, which I thought was very interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, think about it. Can you think of any notable Mr. Potato Head lines in this movie?
No. I can't.
Right. So, you could just, find some generic line that he said in, a throwaway session. It's let's just throw that in there of, him reacting to something.
Yeah, he's not a big part of the movie anyway. Why not? That's my Pixar executive voice.
Yeah, so that's the evolution of the Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One or something.
Yes, I've never seen Rogue One. That just goes over my head. But yeah, Toy Story 4 was okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Is Toy Story Land in California Adventure? Is that the park that it's in? Where is it? The theme park thing.
I want to say you're right that it's California.
Yeah, thank you. I spend a good chunk of my time watching theme park related videos, but I don't remember where it is.
It says Hollywood Studios, so yes.
So yeah,
California.
Well, no, that's in Florida.
Oh, Disney's Hollywood Studios is in Florida? That doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Yeah, it used to be MGM, and then they changed it to Hollywood Studios, and then anyway.
Okay, so it's Florida.
Theme parks. They're gonna make a Toy Story 5 because they want to keep the theme park money going in.
Yep.
All right, good analysis. Beatrice, any final Toy Story 4 thoughts?
Yes, we Canada.
Good enough. Sarah?
Just that this was, I enjoyed this movie, and I think one funny moment we didn't talk about was the moment when there's that baby cradle and there's the Chucky doll in it, and the one person picks it up, and the woman just screams, and it was just, I don't know, that was so funny. I just loved it. I could
I didn't see that, and I don't want to.
Well, it wasn't the Chucky doll. It was one of the puppets, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was.
Sorry, the puppets, I call them the Chucky dolls. Sorry.
Oh my god, they're different.
Side note, great counter programming for Child's Play to come out the same day weekend as Toy Story 4.
Okay, look, it's good counter programming, but their advertising campaign of the ripped up Toy Story toys was annoying as heck.
Oh, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Oh,
yeah, they just kept putting out posters on Twitter of like a ripped up Rex, a Woody arm sticking out, Buzz foot. It's just like they just kept putting out posters, just like, "Hey guys, we're at the same time as Toy Story. Watch us." She'll shut up.
I guess that's a question. Do I prefer Chucky to the marionette puppets in Toy Story 4? No. Chucky is not, no pun intended, the seed. See the Chucky, of my puppet fear.
Okay.
And I cannot see him or I will be. So I prefer the creepy marionette puppets over Chucky.
That's important to know, Sam.
Yes.
Just so you know. Like, dude, for a while there, Spencer's was selling a Chucky doll.
Spencer's.
Yeah, I know, right? My stepdad would take me into Spencer's. He'd be like, "I'm gonna buy that and I'm gonna put that in your room," and I would be terrified.
Why would you ever walk into a Spencer's with any other human being?
Because I was 7. You kind of have to follow your parents around the mall.
I know, but see, I would never walk into a Spencer's with anybody that's living, anyone with a pulse. I would never walk into one to begin with, but I definitely wouldn't do it if someone was with me.
All right. Well, that concludes our Toy Story 4 discussion with a talk about Chucky dolls and Spencer. So on that note, if you'd like to find out the info on this podcast, if you want to learn more, you can go to overlyanimated.com. As previously alluded to, you can join us on Discord if you want to chat with us about Toy Story 4, about animated films, or any other type of animation. We also have a Not Safe for Work channel if you want to tell us Toy Story 4 dirty jokes. I don't know. There might be some out there. You can find it on overlyanimated.com/Discord. Beatrice said she had a Not Safe for Work joke.
It was not related to any of the characters of Toy Story.
I might have a Toy Story
coming back to life.
So you just wanted to tell a random unrelated joke in the middle?
No, it's related to toys coming to life, but it was not about Toy Story characters.
Okay.
No, Alex is more interested now.
Yeah, I mean, there are different kinds of toys out there. It's just not my take.
I feel
this
is going to get edited out. This can't go on.
That's more work for Alex.
Look, go to Discord if you want to hear the rest of the joke. Okay? Yeah, there you go. Anyways, also if you've listened this far, it's likely that you like hearing us. So if that's the case, we would always appreciate any financial support you want to give us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Sarah, aka Saranette. Rhymes with marionette, but so Toy Story connection. I'm sorry to relate you, Sarah, to one of the creepy characters of this movie, but there you go. That's the bonus of signing up for Patreon. I get to tie you in with the thing we're covering. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Beatrice, Hugh, and Michael. If you enjoyed this discussion, you can find our previous discussions on animated films, such as our Lion King retrospective we did a couple weeks ago. We have Spider-Verse content if you want to reminisce over that animation feat. We also cover a wide variety of animated television programs as well. We've got Miraculous Ladybug around, Amphibia. We are beginning our final space coverage. So there's a lot. We have a wide variety of stuff we talk about on here. So feel free to check out overlyanimated.com for that as well. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.